Hi, I'm Bobbie Butters and welcome to this GPP workout for powerlifting. So GPP is general preparation phase, and I do this as part of my off season to get myself prepared for competition phase. The workout that we're going to go through today is a GPP workout that I would use to facilitate the progression of my low bar squat for competition. So this GPP workout is going to start with high bar pull squats. Now I compete with low bar squats. However, my high bar pull squats is a really good accessory to overload the system, but without actually using like heavier loads. So it can be quite helpful because you've got the time under tension at the bottom. And the reason why I do that as well is because I have a tendency to lift my heels out of the hole, and I also tend to shift slightly into one hip. And as a result, I can have a bit of a hip niggle that progresses over time. And these at the start of my off-season training can be really helpful because it gets me to feel that bottom position, feel my heels on the ground, and also feel the tension in my hips, which is quite helpful. So I'm not trying to avoid it that much. So that's why I do high bar pull squats. And also I actually love them as well, which is quite helpful. You've then got front squats, so we're going kind of back into my Olympic lifting days. I love front squats. Again, similarly to the high bar squats, where you've got that overloading of the system, so it's really overloading the quads because it's more quad dominant with the bar being in the front rack as opposed to the back position. So really overloading those quads. But again, you are naturally going to be using a lighter load. So you're getting the quad pump, if you will, and that overload, but you've got less weight overall on your body. With the front squats as well, I also have to really think about being in my heels, otherwise obviously you're going to fall forwards. And it also is really good for upper back strength too. Like you've really got to make sure your elbows are staying high and your upper back is nice and tight. If you're doing them well enough, you're going to feel DOMs probably in your upper back and in your core as well. So overall, really good exercise. Then we're going to go on to the Bulgarian split squats. So the Bulgarian split squats for me, again, it kind of helps with that hip issue. So you've got that eccentric loading, nice and slow, under control as you're going down into the Bulgarian split squat. So you're getting that nice stretch at the back. But whilst also loading that front leg, you can do either a wider stance or a closer stance, depending on if you want to target more quads. So you go like a shorter stance if you want to use quads more. If you want to use your glutes a little bit more, you're going to take that wider stance just to change the leverage a little bit. If I'm going to focus on the quads, it means again, I'm looking for that kind of that quad pump, that overloading, hypertrophic stimulus for that exercise. And then hanging leg raises. I absolutely love hanging leg raises. I think they're really helpful for building core strength, but also you're also going to get the hip flexors, which tend to get neglected in general training. So the hip flexors being like those deep hip flexors that are kind of the iliacus, iliopsoas, etc. So those are going to be helping to pull those, to pull you up. And it also, I started using this as a way to help offset my back as well. So I used to have like a really big arch in my back where I couldn't actually do these, whereas now I can lift my legs up and it's all coming from my core and my quads, so my back is staying quiet in the background, which is quite helpful. Also really good for your shoulders because you're actually hanging onto the bar. So where you're hanging onto the bar and you're having to support yourself, everything's got to be nice and tight. You don't want to be swinging backwards and forwards, so that can be super helpful. And then you've got the conditioning session. So the conditioning session is the kettlebell swings and the burpees. That is quite simply to get heart rate up, which is actually really helpful, especially once you go into your hypertrophy training, to be exposed to that higher heart rate, because essentially you want to have more time under tension and you want to be able to do more repetitions in your hypertrophic phase. Those are some mechanisms of being able to build muscle. Part of that might mean that your heart rate is going to be higher. So I use that kind of conditioning workout so that I'm used to my heart rate being higher and I can manage that, especially as I've got exercise-induced asthma. So that can be really helpful for me personally to just, again, get that kind of conditioning side of things. I use the kettlebell swings because you've got that that hip thrusting motion, which is quite helpful in powerlifting in general. And then you've got the burpees, quite simply because that is something that works your entire body, and you are going to get that heart rate up with the minimal effort, whilst also being able to be explosive at the same time. Okay, so today we've gone through a lot of my GPP exercises that I'd use as part of my off season. So this current off season, I focused on high bar pause squats, front squats, Bulgarian split squats, and hanging leg raises, and then the gruesome conditioning at the end, which is the kettlebell swings and the superset with the burpees. Also horrendous. However, if you've got any questions on anything that we've gone through today, please comment below.